welcome to Assembly Update. I'm Audrey Pitcher here today with Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz from the 81st Assembly District in the Bronx. Assemblyman, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, President Trump delivered his State of the Union address yesterday. What are your thoughts on that?
He took more time than he should to start with. Who gives speeches that long? Oh, Fidel Castro used to speak for hours and drone on, and that's pretty much what he did. He spoke for almost 2 hours. So if you listen to him, you would think things are just so wonderful in the country. The economy is great. We're the richest we've ever been, so on and so forth. It's kind of pathetic how he uses all these superlatives to describe what's happening in the country when there are some good things and some bad things going on. But to suggest that the economy is what he says it is just ridiculous. It's true, the stock market is way up. It's as high as it's ever been. Well, at least it was a few days ago. And that's good for the people who own stock, but half the country doesn't. Between the people who own stock or have 401ks that are invested in the stock market, they do well when the stock market is high. But for the rest of the country, so what? So what? And those are the same people who are probably the worst victims of the prices that his tariffs have caused. He loves the tariffs, there's no question about it, which, by the way, were declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. And he says, oh, the tariffs are making us rich, we're bringing in all this money, and so on and so forth. But the prices that have gone up because of the tariffs, who's paying for that? We, the people, are paying for those prices. So, on the one hand, there's more money from the tariffs. On the other, people are poorer as a result of those tariffs. So it's not as simple as he makes it sound, but he tries to make everything sound simple. He has, everything he's done, it seems, has damaged or destroyed the reputation of our country. He burned bridges with a lot of our strongest allies. I mean, his psychotic obsession with taking over Greenland has hurt our relationship with one of our closest allies, Denmark. The way he has treated what arguably is our closest ally, Canada, is just disgraceful. And that's just a few things on the international level. But in terms of domestic politics, his continuing what he's doing with ICE has been disgusting. They hired many tens of thousands of additional ICE agents who are arguably untrained. They only get 47 days of training. That 47 is what number president he is, as opposed to 6 months. And we've seen the result of that. So it's been one thing after another. So if you listen to what he said in the State of the Union, it's kind of like the book 1984. Whatever he says, believe the opposite. Now, and we're paying the price.
You mentioned the tariffs. Those were recently declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. There's also been some lawsuits going on attempting to sort of recoup the losses from certain businesses. How would you say that's affected the economy?
Well, I think it's a concern, because if businesses, if people are able to recoup that money, that is going to be very damaging to the economy on the one hand, but on the other hand, perhaps they're entitled to do that. Now he's trying to find other ways to impose tariffs. I don't know what goes through the head of a person like that, because if he imposes a tariff on one country, I'm not sure if it crossed his mind that that country can impose tariffs on us. So how do you come out ahead? All these tariffs do, besides adding costs to the American consumer, is hinder free trade. And free trade is one of the pillars of our prosperity and of all the jobs that we have in this country. I think he mentioned last night that he's added, X number of jobs in the past year, and 100% of them have been in the private sector. I'm not sure that's a believable statistic. but much of what he says is not believable. So I wonder, I'd love to know what the average person who watched this thought. Now, I also wonder how long the average person watched it for, because it was close to 2 hours. It was the longest State of the Union speech ever. I guess he thinks quantity is more important than quality. And then he started like yelling at the Democrats in the audience because they didn't stand up for him on something. I didn't realize you're obligated to give him a standing ovation every time he, or issues a command to give him a standing ovation. But other presidents have said partisan things during the State of the Union, no question about it. But can you imagine President Obama ever behaving in such a childish way, such as the way Trump behaves, to actually lecture people because he wanted a standing ovation from everybody? I think pretty much sums up everything. It does. I don't know why I'm shaking my head, because everything that happens, one thing after another, it's the same stuff. So nothing should surprise us. And most of these things don't even affect people anymore. They're just so used to it. And certainly his supporters don't care about anything that he does, because some of them, a lot of them maybe, are just sort of like, almost like robots. I hate to put it that way, but no matter what he does, they're okay with it.
Now, you mentioned he allegedly said that he created a bunch of jobs only in the private sector, but that's sort of belied by the sort of mass exodus we've seen in the public sector and people sort of leaving the federal administration.
Well, yeah, I mean, they first of all, they got rid of some jobs on the national level. Some of that's been very hurtful. I think he bragged that, I think he said, I forget the number, but so many people were no longer receiving food stamps. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? The way he put it, he like lifted people out of food stamps. The way I see it, he deprived many people in need of receiving the aid that they need. So to him, it was a point to gloat about, when in fact many people have been hurt by some of those cuts, the cuts to Medicaid, the cuts to the SNAP benefits, and so on. And but he's not trying to appeal to all of America. He's not trying to bring people together. That's not what his politics is about. His politics is about appealing to his narrow base. I think the CBS Ipsos poll came out just the other day on Sunday, and it showed that 60% of the American people disapprove of him and what he's done in office so far. Now, polls go up and down, but the polls in general are very negative on him right now. And he's lost a lot of support among independent voters, which are obviously very key to elections, because the way they swing is the way elections swing. And even among Republicans, he has lost some support. So can things turn around for him? Maybe. But I don't think he has the capacity to try to do something different. He wants things done in a certain way, and as long as you don't change, when you're about to go off a cliff, the best advice I would give somebody is turn the wheel, and he doesn't believe in that. So the problem is when he keeps doing these bad policies, it's people that suffer. And then I think he was claiming credit for this massive tax cut. There was no massive tax cut. What they did in the so-called big, beautiful bill is they essentially continued the massive tax breaks to corporations and the very wealthy that were instituted in his first administration, and they continued that. There was not a new tax cut. Did middle-class people get a little bit of a tax cut in that? Yeah, perhaps, but the billions, the trillions of dollars that we lost in revenue because of his massive shift in wealth to the super wealthy hurts a lot more than whatever minor tax break people may have gotten. And that hurts everybody all around. And then, and then he mentioned something about gas prices. He said something like, oh, a year ago, the gas prices were like $6 a gallon. Now they're $2. Well, I know when I get gas in my car, it was never $6. It was never $5. I'm not even sure it was $4 in 2 years ago. And it's not $2 now. So again, when he makes numbers up, it's hard for me to believe that most people will actually take him seriously. We know he's a laughingstock among foreign leaders. We know that, but I think he's also a laughingstock among a very high percentage of the American public. So I don't know what the ratings were in last night's speech. I guess we'll find out soon enough. But I do suspect that the numbers were dropping and dropping and dropping as the evening wore on, and it wore and wore and wore. So there you have it. He gave his speech. I'm sure he feels very good about it. We'll see what they actually do. We'll see what Congress does. But I think that they're losing support in Congress too.
Absolutely. Now, in our last minute, in some happier news, the nurses' strike has ended in New York City after 41 days. How has that been going?
Well, we're very pleased. I mean, I walked the picket lines with the nurses at Montefiore and the Neisner nurses several times, and I'm glad their strike ended. I'm glad for them. I'm glad for the whole community. The last settlement was with New York Presbyterian. Montefiore and Mount Sinai settled somewhat before them. So now it's over. Hopefully the nurses accomplish what they want in terms of nurse-staff ratio, in terms of safety issues. I think people are very happy that it's over. And I have to say, the people who stood outside on the picket line, many of them were day after day. I mean, they had different groups of nurses coming in. No one was out there, 12 hours a day, I don't think. But it was during the coldest cold spell that we've had in memory. So I got to hand it to them. They really deserve our applause for sticking it out and finally that it was settled. So I'm very happy for them and the community.
Definitely. Well, it was really great to have you on. We look forward to hearing more about what's going on in state politics and federal politics. And I will see you next time.
Okay. Look forward to it.